ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. So as you know, we were discussing verse 16 of the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So we have started the 16th verse, that is in front of you. चतुर्विधा भजन्ते मां जना सुकृतिनोऽर्जुन आर्तो जिज्ञासुरर्थार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभ. That is the verse. So Chaturvidha bhajante mam, four kinds of people worship me, adore me, serve me, are devoted to me. Jana means people. And what is their qualification? Main qualification is they are sukritina, they are doers of good deeds. They have accumulated virtues in their earlier lives and this life also. So their minds are to a certain extent pure. Therefore, they worship me, adore me, God says. So who are these four? Artha, Jigyasu, Artharthi and Jnani. So last time we were discussing Artha. What does Artha mean? Artha is those who are afflicted. Those who are afflicted by various kinds of miseries or troubles or any other difficulty. So they worship God in order to get rid of that difficulty. Second is Jigyasu, those who are seekers of knowledge. Seekers of knowledge means those who are seekers of the highest knowledge. Here Jigyasu does not mean seeker of any ordinary worldly knowledge, mind you. This is the knowledge of God which these people are seeking. And the third is Artharthi. Artha means wealth and Artharthi means seeker of wealth. Here wealth does not mean only money. Here it means any kind of enjoyment, any kind of worldly enjoyment. And the fourth type is the Jnani or knower of Brahman. Those who have already realized God, already they have attained everything, but still they worship God. So these kinds of devotees worship me, adore me. It was said last time. So we had finished discussing the Artha devotee, the Artha afflicted devotee, who worships God to get rid of his trouble, etc. So we have seen that in the scriptures it has been depicted by various characters. So the first is the kings confined by the evil ruler Jarasandh. Second was Draupadi, who was being insulted in the court of the Kauravas. Third was the Gajendra, or the king of the elephants, when he was caught by a crocodile. And the fourth we discussed were the people of Vraja, people of Vrindavan, who, when Indra became angry with them and flooded the whole area, and they were in great difficulty due to the storm and the rain, they had nowhere to go, so they took refuge under Krishna. So these we have discussed. So today we will discuss the next kind of devotee, that is the Jigyasu, Artha and Jigyasu. Jigyasu, we have seen that. Who is a Jigyasu? A seeker of knowledge. Not ordinary knowledge, mind you. This is the highest knowledge which he is seeking, that is the self-knowledge. So in Sanskrit, Jigyasa word means Gyatum Ichha, Jigyasa. Gyatum means to know. Ichha is desire. So Gyatum Ichha Jigyasa, one who desires self-knowledge, one who aspires after liberation. So this is the ultimate jigyasa. This is highly commendable. If this jigyasa comes into our life, if this desire to know God sincerely comes into our life, more than 90% our problems will be solved at once. So this is not something ordinary. This is extremely rare. Rare is the person who desires to know God. We desire every other thing in the world other than this. So this is a very, very high category. Jigyasa, one who is a Jigyasu, he belongs to an extremely high category beyond the ordinary ken of humanity. He has gone much higher. So this is the ultimate knowledge which he seeks. So Artha devotee takes shelter in God to get rid of his troubles. Artharthi takes shelter to get enjoyments. But the Jigyasu takes shelter to attain God himself. And if one is a sincere Jigyasu, he doesn't take long to attain the knowledge of God. It is extremely rare. So in Bengali there is a song to show how rare this is. That is Shama Dhan ki Sobai Pai. Shama means Divine Mother. So the wealth that is the Divine Mother ki Sobai Pai. Does everyone get that? It is a beautiful song. Shama Dhan ki Sobai Pai re Kali Dhan ki Sobai Pai অবোধ মন বুঝে না কি দায় অবোধ মন বোঝে না কি দায় সমাধান কি সবাই পায় রে কালী ধন কি সবাই পায়. So the meaning of this is that Shobai Pai Na, everybody does not get it. Very rare persons seek that knowledge, and even those who amongst them who seek that, very few get that. So anyway, seeking leads to that knowledge, so it is a very commendable pursuit. Now, as in the case of Artha devotee, the scriptures also give us the examples of those who are Jigyasu, those who are seekers of knowledge. In the Puranas, especially in the Bhagavata, there are examples of these kinds of devotees. So the first devotee is the king Muchukanda. I will just show you a photograph. So here you see, this is the king Muchukanda, and in front of him is Sri Krishna, God. So who was Muchukanda? Muchukanda was a very powerful king, but he was a very noble king also. So once he was so powerful that when once gods and the demons were fighting, the gods sought the help of Muchukanda. So Muchukanda helped them and the gods ultimately won, but it was a long, long battle. So at the end of the battle, when the gods asked Muchukanda what did he want in return for all his troubles, Muchukanda said Muchukanda had fought without taking any rest on behalf of the gods. So when the gods asked him, what do you want? So Muchukanda said, I just want a long, long rest. And I want that nobody should disturb me while I am resting. So the god said, okay. So Muchukanda went into a cave and there he slept. This is in the photo you can see the cave. So in the cave he slept, and then there he was awoken by a demon. So because Muchukanda wanted rest, the gods had given him this boon that okay, you will get rest, and whoever disturbs your rest decides to wake you up, as soon as you wake up and look at him, he will be burnt to ashes. So it is said that Krishna was once being followed by a demon. So Krishna was a very clever, he was a very clever fellow. So he arranged things in such a way that demon entered this cave. And thinking that the sleeping Muchukanda was Krishna, he woke him up. So as soon as Muchukanda woke up, he saw that demon, and the demon was burnt to ashes. So this is the story in brief, and after that Krishna came and gave the gift of the ultimate knowledge to Muchukanda. So Muchukanda is one example of a Jigyasu devotee. And another example I'll give you. Another example is that of Uddhava. So Uddhava, I think many of you must have heard of him. I'll just show you his picture. See, this is a beautiful painting. Krishna is sitting and Uddhava is seeking knowledge from him. I think it may be ISKCON or so Uddhava is a character very much present in the Bhagavata. He appears many times. It is also said that Uddhava was a cousin of Sri Krishna. He was the son of the brother of Krishna's father, that is Vasudev. So Krishna's father Vasudev, he had a brother whose son Uddhava was. So Uddhava was Krishna's cousin also. And it is said that his physical appearance was so much like Krishna that often he was mistaken sometimes for Krishna. So he plays a significant role in the Bhagavata Purana, and in the end of somewhere in the end of the Bhagavata, we see that Sri Krishna, like he taught Arjuna in the Kurukshetra war, he also taught Uddhava. He also gave Uddhava that supreme knowledge, and that discourse of Sri Krishna is known as the Uddhava Gita. So it has also been separately published. Of course, it forms a part of the Bhagavata, and it has also been separately published by the Ramakrishna Order also by Uddhava Gita, and translated into English by Swami Madhavananda. So these are the two examples of Jigyasu devotees, those who aspire after the highest knowledge, which is God. Now comes the question, why do they want this knowledge? So this is a very interesting, very interesting study. So I will just request you to pay a little attention. See, when we want something, suppose I want this computer. What will I do? I will try to own this computer. I will go to a shop. I will give money. I will purchase the computer and bring it to my home. Then I will say that I have now got this computer. Suppose I want to meet someone. I want to meet a friend. A friend lives nearby. What will I do? I will go to the friend's house, meet him, stay with him for some time, and again come back. Okay. But if I want a computer, I won't say that I want to know the computer. Shall I say that? If I go to a shopkeeper and shopkeeper begins to tell me all the knowledge, what type of processor, what type of company, etc., he begins to give me a whole lecture on the computer, what will I say? I'll say that I don't want knowledge of this computer, I just want it for my use. So please take the money and give me the computer. And if I want to meet my friend, I don't want to know all about him. When he was born, what did he study, where did he study, what is he going to do in future. I don't want to know all that. I just want to meet my friend. So in the case of God, see the interesting point. In the case of God, why does the person who wants to attain God, why does he want to know God? Have you ever thought of this before? It is a very interesting point. When we want anything, we try to get it by either purchasing or going to that place where the thing is. We don't say that because I want this thing, I want to know that thing. Do we say that ever? We don't say. But one who wants God says that he wants to know God. Is it not a very interesting point? How can he get God by knowing God? Can I get this computer by knowing it? I know all about this computer, all the technical details. Shall I get this simply by knowing this? This knowledge won't help me to get the computer. So what is so special about God that simply by knowing God, we can attain God? Have you ever thought of this? This is a very interesting point. So I will just show you a photo and then try to explain as our great souls have explained this point. So the thing is, you see, in the world, there are two things by the help of how we get something in the world. Just let me show you. See this photo here. The devotee wants to attain God by knowing God. So first is jnana or knowledge. Now another two things are there. Dravya, which is substance in the world. Everything in the world is a substance. And the third thing is kriya or activity. So what happens in the world? Any kind of substance, this computer is a substance. I want to own this computer. So I bring it to my home and I own it. And activity, if I want to see my friend, suppose, who lives nearby, I walk, I do this activity, go to his house and meet him. So in the world, when we want something, when we want a substance, we get it by any means, either through activity or by paying money or anything. Anything is activity. So the thing is, in case of God, in Sanskrit we say, the knowledge of God is not dravyatmaka or kriyatmaka. Dravyatmaka means it is not, God is not a substance that we can go and get God like we get things of the world. Neither is God physically living somewhere else that we can go, do some activity and go and meet God. It is not like that. So in Sanskrit we say that the attainment of God is not dravyatmaka or kriyatmaka. This means that attainment of God can't be had through getting any substance. We don't realize God by doing something or physically going close to Him. This is very important. If that was the case, that okay, God lives in a house near me, suppose, how to get God? Just walk to that house and see God. If that was the case, then what happens in the case of my friend? I go to my friend's house, I meet him, that is true, but I have to come away. If I go and meet somebody, there has to be a separation. I cannot be with anybody else for eternity. So if God was like my friend, like physical friend, that I go somewhere and meet God, then I would have to come away one day. I would be again separated from God. And if God was some substance in the world, like this computer, if I got God like I get this computer, then this computer is a thing which is subject to destruction. It will be destroyed one day. It cannot be with me forever. So God, if God was a substance, God would also have been destroyed someday. But a devotee wants God through all eternity. He does not want to be separated from God at any time. And we all know that God is Shashwata, that is, God is imperishable, God is never destroyed. So that is why it is said that the attainment of God is Jnanatmaka, through knowledge, not Dravyatmaka, not like of any other substance, or Kriyatmaka, it is not through activity. We cannot get God through activity. We only remove our ignorance through activity. If God was the result of any activity, if attaining God was the result of any activity, then when the activity would be stopped, we would lose God. So in attainment of God, there is no action involved of the body, etc. Nor do we have to go to any other place to get God. And it is not an object or dravya to be enjoyed physically like a chocolate or something. Chocolate, what do? We just eat the chocolate, it is a substance. So you can't have God that way. God is not a substance. So attainment of God through knowledge means we are just ignorant that we are already established in God. We are just ignorant of the fact. Actually, we don't have to attain God at all. We just have to know that we have already attained Him, because He is not separate from us. A chocolate is separate from me. I have to do something to get that chocolate. A friend is separate from me. I have to go somewhere and meet my friend. But God is within my own heart. God is the soul of my soul. I don't have to do any activity to attain myself. Do I have to do anything? I am always attained by myself. But the problem is when I forget that, then the problem starts. So that is why paro preme hoye ocheton bhulecho aponar jone. Our own self we have forgotten. Paro preme, in the prema, in the love of all these things, in the love of this world, we have forgotten our own self. We are ignorant of our own self. So knowledge of God means what? It means just removing this ignorance by knowledge. So attainment of God is Jnanatmaka. It is through knowledge only. We cannot go somewhere and meet God. God is not confined by space. God is already present everywhere. So where will you go and meet Him? And it is imperishable. It can never be destroyed. So it is not like some earthly substance. So the Jnani, the Jigyasu, that's why when he realizes this, he just wants to know. He just wants knowledge, because knowledge will allow him to get rid of ignorance, and nothing more is required to attain God. That is why Gyatum Ichha Jigyasa. Jigyasa is the wish to know God, because by knowing itself we can attain God. So the Jigyasu, what does he do? To know God, he takes refuge in God. Not say scriptures. He doesn't take refuge in the scriptures. If he thinks that by studying the scriptures he can attain God, he knows that that can never be done. In the Katha Upanishad there is a verse, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhya Na Medhaya Na Bahuna Shrutena. God is not attained by medha or intellect, nor is God attained by knowing too many things. I can memorize by heart the Encyclopedia Britannica or all the books in the world, but that will not help me attain God. So knowing this, the seeker of God or Jigyasu, he just wants to know God and takes refuge in God for that purpose. So this is about the Jigyasu. Now we come to the third kind of devotee, that is the Artharthi. Artha is wealth. Here, as I have told you, that it stands for any means of enjoyment. Artharthi iha va paratra va yad bhoga upakaranam tat lipsu. Iha va paratra va, or either of this world or of that world. Bhoga upakaran. Bhoga means any object of enjoyment. So one who wants any object of enjoyment, either in this world or of that world, heavenly enjoyments, etc., he is called a Artharthi. So what is the difference between there is no dearth of Artharthis in the world. 99.99% are Artharthis. They are running after enjoyment. What is the difference between them and this person? The difference is that even for enjoyment, he takes refuge in God. That is the difference. If he wants enjoyment, he wants only from God, not by taking the obligation of any other person. So there are many examples of Artharthi also in our scriptures. I will just show you. So see, I'll just share this photo. You all know about Sugriva. Sugriva, in the Ramayana, that character is there. So when Shri Ram, when he was going in search of Sita, then he sought the help of many monkeys. So the leader of those monkeys was Sugriva. Now, Sugriva was not a seeker of knowledge, etc. He did not want to be devoted to God in that sense. He just wanted, because Sugriva's elder brother Bali had taken over his kingdom. He had driven out Sugriva, and now he reigned over Sugriv's kingdom. So Sugriv just wanted Shri Ram that he should get rid of Bali. So if Bali was dead, then Sugriv would again be the ruler. So this is the character of Sugriv in the Ramayana. He took shelter under Shri Ram, he took shelter under God, but not because he wanted knowledge of God, but he just wanted to get his kingdom back. This is one example. Then another example, you see the picture here. This is Dhruva. Dhruva was the son of a king. Now, what had happened was, this father of Dhruva, who was a king, he had two wives. Here you see God is appearing before Dhruva to grant him a boon. Now, Dhruva was, you can say, two in one. Two in one means he began as a devotee who wanted kingdom, but in the end, he began to love God just for the sake of loving. That is, in the end, his love became selfless. How? See, Dhruva was born as the son of the king Uttanapada and his wife Suniti. Now, this king had another son, Uttama, born to his second queen, Suruchi. Now, the king was partial to Suruchi, not so much to Dhruva's mother. So once when Dhruva was a child, 5 years of age, he was sitting on his father's lap, the king's lap. But Suruchi, his stepmother, she was jealous of the king's first wife. So because she thought that Dhruva was the eldest son and he would become king, not her own son. So when Suruchi came and saw that Dhruva was sitting on the king's lap, she forced him to come down. She forcefully removed Dhruva from his father's lap. And the king was so much under control of Suruchi that he could not say anything in protest. But when Dhruva protested, then Suruchi told him, only God can allow you that privilege of sitting on the lap of your father. So you go to God. Go to God and ask you to give him that privilege. So Dhruva, the little boy, he was very much aggrieved and he went to the forest. So he resolved that I will ask God to give me this privilege, that why can't I sit on my father's lap? Why am I being deprived? So Dhruva started adoring God with this worldly motive. But after arduous austerities, when God finally appeared before Dhruva and God asked him, what do you want? Tell me, I will give you whatever you want. Then Dhruva said, oh God, when I have seen you, when I have attained this highest thing possible, then all other things seem so trivial that now I cannot ask you for any worldly thing. So Dhruva did not ask him for any kingdom or anything else at all, because Dhruva realized that when God himself had appeared before him, this was the biggest gain. No gain could be bigger than that. So Dhruva started as an Artharthi devotee. He went to God with a motive. But in the end, when finally God showered his grace on Dhruva, then Dhruva realized that the attainment which he had got, in front of that, every worldly thing was simply trash, simply insignificant. So Dhruva was transformed from an Artharthi devotee to a selfless devotee. That is the example given in the scriptures. So what is the moral of this? See, you see, Artharthi people will think that, oh, why even those who want worldly things, why are they classed among devotees? Generally we see that devotees only are they who want liberation or those who want God. The thing is, God wants everybody to approach him. Now, if he forces those who have desires, they cannot be forced to give up desires. In Sri Ramakrishna's Gospel, we have read so many times, Sri Ramakrishna never told anybody, never forced anybody, oh, you give up everything and become a monk. Renounce everybody, I am telling you. He never forced. He knew that forcing will not help. Because a person with strong desires, even if he is forced out of his home, he will find enjoyment wherever he goes. So nobody can be forced to renounce. So God says, if you have desires, okay, you should give them up. That is true. But if you cannot give them up, to fulfill those desires, you don't take refuge in the world, you take refuge in me. So when you continuously think of me in that way, then ultimately you will get rid of desires. All those who have read the lives of devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, in the Gospel it is there, one devotee, Surendranath Mitra, was addicted to alcohol. Now, other devotees told Sri Ramakrishna, sir, why don't you ask him to give up alcohol? It is not good, you know that. Sri Ramakrishna said, let him drink. How long will he drink? Sri Ramakrishna just told him that before you drink, you just remember God. That's all. He did not tell him to give up. So what happened was, slowly, that Surendranath Mitra thought so much of God, he became so much attracted to God that he left drinking without even trying. So this is the motive for Artharthi devotee. The goal is not to seek enjoyment, mind you. You should not think that through eternity you will go on seeking enjoyment and you will be Artharthi devotee. No, that is not God's aim. God's aim is that by seeking anything from God, the devotee will slowly start thinking of God so much that finally all the desires for the world will go away by themselves. Slowly. So that is why it is said that akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Akama, whether you don't want anything, or sarva kama, or you want everything of the world, or moksha kama, you want only liberation. Any of these three, whatever you are, be devoted to God. That is the thing. Whatever your position in life is, God just says, be devoted to me. Even if you want worldly things, you ask of me, take refuge in me. When you do that, slowly you will realize that worldly things are absolutely insignificant. So God is not partial in that sense. So whom does God go to? It is described in such a beautiful way. When I heard this song, just these two lines, I was simply amazed that whom does God go to? Where does God go? It is said in such a beautiful way. Wahi gaye means he goes there only. Wahi gaye जहाँ गए पुकारे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव. वहीं गए जहाँ गए पुकारे. Whoever calls on God, God goes to him. So the whole verse is simply wonderful. अधर पे वंशी हृदय में राधे बट गए दोनों में आधे आधे. हे राधा नागर हे भक्त सदैव भक्तों के काम साधे, सदैव भक्तों के काम साधे, वहीं गए, वहीं गए, वहीं गए, जहाँ गए पुकारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव, श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव, पितु मातु स्वामी सखा हमारे, पितु मातु स्वामी सखा हमारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव, श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव. So it is put in such a wonderful way, it is simply unimaginable. So the thing to note is here that God goes by wherever he is called, by whomsoever he is called. So everybody is dear to God, that is the thing. See, God is not like ordinary worldly people. This we have to understand. Worldly people are generally afraid of those who come to ask for something. They are afraid of people who will come and ask for anything. If they think that they have to give something, they are very afraid of giving. So suppose someone goes to a rich person and asks for money. Even if that rich person sees this from a distance, he will be afraid. Oh, this fellow is coming. He will ask me for money. So that is the reason, because most people are afraid to give. Especially miserly people, they are afraid to give. Their whole lives are spent in guarding the wealth they will have to leave and go one day. So what do those people think? That they are afraid. Why? Because they think that if I give this fellow money, my money will decrease. My store will decrease. But God is not like that. God has no such fear, because God's wealth has no limit. He can give us everything, but his wealth will not decrease. So it is not that God will not shower his grace upon those who want anything of the world from him. He knows that these people are in such a condition that they cannot give up their desires, but this does not mean that they will be deprived of God's grace. So these three also slowly cross over Maya. By degrees, these three also attain God. Artha, he worships God to get rid of suffering, but finally he gives up that desire also and attains God. And Artharthi takes refuge in God to get worldly enjoyment, but he also slowly gets rid of desire and attains God. And Jigyasu also, the seeker of God, also attains God. But then what is the difference between Artha, Artharthi and Jigyasu? The Jigyasu attains God directly. That is the thing. If I want God only, I will attain God directly. But Artharthi has to go through a long process. He takes a roundabout course. He first will get the objects of enjoyment he desires. He enjoys, that desire will decrease. Then he will finally want God. And the Artha also, first he will get rid of all his troubles. Then slowly he will find that only if he attains God can he get rid of his troubles forever. So Artha also takes a roundabout course. But the Jigyasu goes to God directly. This is the difference. So Artha and Artharthi will take a long time in attaining God, but the Jigyasu will attain Him directly, because from the beginning itself he does not want anything of the world. He only wants the knowledge of God. This is the thing. So those who seek God only to fulfill their desires, they are also devotees, but they belong to a very much lower class. This we have to understand. Sri Ramakrishna says that what are these people like? These people are like the person who goes to a king. The king has infinite wealth, jewels, diamonds, everything, gold. But this person went to God, went to that king and asked for what? Goats and pumpkins. He asked the king for a pumpkin. He could have got a pumpkin maybe for $1 outside. So that fellow, he did not ask God for all the riches. He asked him for a pumpkin. So such a man, can he be called intelligent? He can't be called an intelligent person. So Artharthi devotee is like that person. He goes to God, but he does not seek God. He seeks a pumpkin, all these worldly things. So we should not think that this Artharthi and Artha devotees are in the same category with the Jigyasu. The Jigyasu is much higher. And higher than everybody, of course, is the Jnani. He is the highest. So the thing is, Artharthi devotees are actually at a much lower level. In the Gita, it is said that these people are Alpa Medhasam. Alpa means small. Medha is intelligence. So their intelligence is very small. They cannot think of anything higher than a pumpkin. They cannot think of anything higher than the world. So even when they go to God, they just ask for worldly things. So many times you see, small-minded persons, many times we have seen that, even like in India, etc. In India, the station, we have those coolies. They take your bag and baggage and take you to the compartment and all. So those are very poor people. So many times I've seen in the station that rich people, very rich, they are coming in big cars, etc. But when they pay the coolie, such a poor person, for 5 rupees, they will argue with him for 1.5 hours. That is the situation of the worldly person. To part from money is like parting from their very, if somebody is taking out their heart. So these persons are small-minded. Alpa medhasam. So those who go to God for any worldly thing, they are devotees, no doubt. But we should not think that they belong to the same class as those who don't want anything from God, those who only want the knowledge of God. This is the thing. So these three, Artha, Artharthi and Jigyasu also, they still have some desire. They are sakama, with desires. Now, after dealing with those three, God comes to the last and the highest. Who is the fourth kind of devotee who adores God? He is Nishkama. He has no desires at all. Why? Because he has already attained Bhagavad Tattva Sakshatkara. He has already attained direct realization of the true nature of the Lord. So, what is he like? 2 other adjectives are given. He is Tirna Maya. Maya means, that illusion, ignorance. Tirna, he has already crossed over Maya. And he is Nivritta Sarva Kama. All the desires have gone away. These 3 characteristics are there of the Jnani. What? First, he has attained Bhagavad Tattva Sakshatkara. He has attained direct realization of God. Second is, he is Tirna Maya. He has already crossed over Maya. Fourth is, because he has attained God already, he is Nivritta Sarva Kama. All the desires of his heart have gone away. So what kind of a devotee is that? He is the Jnani. Jnani, or the man of knowledge. Here knowledge means that supersensuous realization of the true nature of God. So one who is ever possessed of that is a Jnani. He is the highest and extremely, extremely rare. Very rare. God himself says, Sudurlabha, to get such a Jnani and to recognize him is extremely rare. So many examples are given in our scriptures of these great types of great souls also. There are generally four, I will just mention four. First is the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana. These are the four Kumaras ever free. Then there is the sage Narada. Then there is the king of devotees who is Prahlada. And then the ever free Shukadeva. Shukadeva who told the Bhagavata to Parikshit. So these three are the examples of Jnani, of the pure knowledge, and there are also Jnanis who have love combined with knowledge, or even pure love. Some people say they are Akrura. Akrura is a character in the Bhagavata, and the gopis of Vrindavan. Gopis of Vrindavan had attained knowledge, but it was pure love. Knowledge was not so predominant in them as was love for God. They were Jnanis, they were great souls. So now, of course, there is no time to discuss these in detail. So I think we will have to wait for the next week. So we will discuss the Jnanis, the fourth kind of devotees, and we will also answer the third question. If you remember that we had put three questions, that why should people with desires worship God? We have already answered the question last week. Then we put the question that if everything is Brahman, why not adore an animal, etc.? Why adore God as an incarnation of God? That also we've answered last week. But the third question, that why does a Jnani adore God? Jnani has nothing to gain. He has already attained everything. Still, why should he adore God? That question, if you remember, still to be answered. So, next week we will discuss the Jnani, the devotee who adores God even after attaining God. And why does he adore God? That also we will try to understand with our limited intelligence. So, we can end here today. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.